Hey guys, welcome back to another video at Jensen's Reptiles. So I was just doing a little bit of spraying down to make sure humidity is good, and I thought I haven't actually shown you my Royal Python setups in a little while, especially now that Pixel is in a bigger enclosure. So I thought I would just make a quick video today to show you what they're in currently, and then later down the road I'll do a full kind of setup and care video for those of you who want to know a little bit more about how to keep these animals. So I'll jump right in and get started with Ikey's setup. Okay, so this is Ikey's home. It's a 4-foot Viv Exotic Viva Plus, and she's currently hanging out over in her warm hide over on that side over there, underneath her ceramic spot, which I'm pretty sure isn't on today because it is about 29 degrees here. So I doubt that's gonna kick in today, to be honest. But yeah, so that's Ikey's enclosure. She's got a pretty busy side over here with lots of pieces of cork so she can go under any of them and hide away. She's got some branches to climb on, and then she's got her warm hide down there with her water bowl. Her substrate is a mixture of bark chips, Lucky Reptile Jungle Earth. She's got 2 different kinds of mosses in there as well. And some cocoa fibre too, so it's quite a mix. It holds humidity really well without being damp, which is really what I wanted to go for my heavier constrictors, just so that, you know, any risk of scale rot is kind of eliminated. But yeah, so that's Ikey's enclosure. With it being on the bottom of the stack, it does hold quite a bit of the weight. When I say quite a bit, it holds all of the weight, so there is a bit of pressure here on the glass, so I'm seeing if I can fix that, maybe by adding some metal supports inside or outside the enclosure, just to toughen it up a little bit. But yeah, so that's Ikey. Let's move on to Haku. Okay, so this is Haku's setup. Very much the same kind of layout as Ikey's, with the warm side over there, and then kind of the cluttered cooler end with things to climb on, lots of stuff to hide between. So yeah, it really is the same setup for all 3 of my Royals. Forgive the smudgy glass, by the way, it needs a clean. Yeah, I'll get around to that probably later on today. But yeah, so these kind of enclosures seem to work really well for my lot because they are pretty active snakes. I would definitely give them more space if I could, so I'm probably looking at putting them in 6-foot enclosures at some point down the line. Most likely I'll have to move house before that, but that's the goal. They really do use all of the space, so there's so many myths about Royal Pythons not getting on with large enclosures. I absolutely wouldn't even consider this a large enclosure. I'd say this is kind of the minimum that they should be offered, but fingers crossed I can get them some more space soon. But in the meantime, they come out loads and they're doing really well. So yeah, that's Haku's setup, and I'll move on to Pixel next so you can see his one. Okay, so this is Pixel's enclosure. Anyone who's been watching for ages will have seen Pixel's previous enclosure, which was a 3-foot Viv Exotic. So now he's upgraded to the 4-foot, but his is not quite as deep as the girls. Reason being, I already had this enclosure for my leopard gecko, and she actually got a new enclosure, which maybe unfairly is quite a bit bigger than poor Pixel's, but due to the way I've had to stack them, he's got this one for now. Luna's got her lovely big 4-foot, but yeah, eventually we'll get Pixel a slightly bigger one, but it's still an upgrade from what he had before, so I'm really happy about that. But yeah, exact same layout on the cooler end, nice and cluttered, lots to climb on. A nice big piece of cork under there to hide under, some little bits of decor which are probably more for me than for him, and then yeah, same deal down that end, so just the hide underneath the heat there, water bowl over to the left. The main reason I keep that open space in front of the warm hide and in front of the cool hide is for feeding. Royals tend to have a varied feeding response. Anyone who keeps them will know exactly what I mean. You either get those that are ravenous all the time, strike first, think later, or the kind that come and contemplate their food for 30-40 minutes before they decide that it's potentially edible. My lot do both of those and kind of everything in between. So I like to leave that open space to make sure when they do have that rapid feeding strike that they're not going to smack their heads into anything. Pixel in particular has rammed his face into the front of the enclosure, and as you can imagine, with a little head and going at full speed into the front of this, it's probably not the most pleasant of feelings, so just avoiding that at all costs really. But yeah, so I will actually get the snakes out in a moment so you can see them, because I feel like I can show you their enclosures, but you probably want to see how the guys have grown, and if you've not seen them before, then it'd be nice to have a little look. So bear with me one moment and I will get them out one by one. Okay, so this is my gorgeous girl Ikey. I feel a little bit terrible because I lifted her hide and she looked completely normal, but I've just pulled her out and seen that she's going into shed. So her belly is actually a little bit pink at the moment, so she'll be shedding in the next 4 or 5 days or so. So I'm not going to keep her out. As you can see, she's probably not in the best mood ever. And that's not to say she's in a bad mood, because she's an absolute angel, but she's probably not feeling all that social right now. So I'm just going to pop her back in. But there you go. You can see her. And Aki's about 6 years old, and you can see from the size of her compared to my hand there, she's not the biggest, mainly because she only eats for about a third of the year and then she stops. But yeah, she's an absolute angel. I'll just pop her back in now before she gets too upset by the whole situation. Okay, next up is Haku. So Haku is not in shed, thankfully, so we can actually have her out for a little bit. Haku is an kind of all-white pied snake, so she has a couple of coloured scales like here, and she's got one on her face as well. But otherwise, she is pretty much all white, which means that when Haku sits under a piece of wood or in her hide and presses up against the sides, she gets these pink patches, which I don't know if they actually show up on camera. I think over there on the end of her tail you can just about see these little creases. So if she's been particularly balled up, then she'll have a few pink lines on her, but otherwise pretty much all white. So when Haku goes into shed, like unlike Aki who just gets a pink belly, Haku actually goes pink all over, which is quite a sight to see. But yeah, you can see she's a little bit bigger than Aki, girth-wise, but length-wise they're pretty similar. Haku is a 1.5 years younger than Aki, so she's just turned 4 actually. But yeah, she's an absolute sweetheart as well. Because she carries that spider gene, she does have a very slight head wobble, but as you can see here, she's holding her head up really well, with no wobble whatsoever. So it depends on kind of how hard she's focusing on something, if she's going to eat or not, but it doesn't affect her. I like to keep her nice and fit and healthy so she can support the weight of her own head essentially, because it's such a terrible thing to not be able to do. There you go, on the side of her face there you can see that other coloured scale. It's a bit like a Marilyn Monroe beauty mark. But yeah, she's an absolute stunner. One heck of a personality on this snake. We always say she's more like a corn snake than a royal python, because when she's out and warmed up, this girl does not stop. She's definitely not the royal python lap snake that people talk about, but an absolute angel, and I'm super happy to have her. I'm going to turn the camera off and let her explore a little bit, and then I will grab Pixel out so you can see him too. Okay, so last but not least is little Pixel. I say little, he's grown an extraordinary amount. In fact, I'd say he's almost as big as Aki now, and he's, I think, 3 years younger than her, so he's really he's really come a long way, but this guy does not miss a meal ever. Rain or shine, shed or not, Pixel always wants to eat anything really. So the reason I've got him up on the chair rather than on the floor is because Pixel is a little bit nervous. He's fine, he can come out, he's handled a fair bit, and I've never really had an issue with him. But if he is in a bit of a mood, he'll kind of do a closed mouth strike, just to say, hey, leave me alone. And I found that the times that he's done that is when someone is standing kind of over him, which I completely understand. So, you know, small animals usually have it pretty well ingrained that if something's hovering over your head, you need to be nervous. And he's not a nervous animal in general, but he does have that reaction more than the girls do. I've never seen either of them do that, but he's still a sweetheart. As you can see, he's pretty chilled. He likes to hide his head, so I never really want to pester him too much. But he is a gorgeous little guy. As you can see, when I touch him, he tenses up just that little bit, and he'll do that for kind of not even, between 2 and 5 minutes before he realises nothing's going to hurt him, and then he'll go have a little explore. But it's just that initial moment of, I'm freaked out, please don't touch me, please don't hurt me. And it's not as if Pixel doesn't get a load of attention, but with my animals that are somewhat nervous, like Pixel, like Ziggy, my corn snake, I do give them their space a little bit more. I don't think it's always wise to pressure a nervous animal to kind of get over it. That's usually just the way they are, and that's absolutely fine by me. As long as he's happy and healthy, that's all that matters. But Pixel, unlike Ziggy, does usually come out of his shell pretty quickly, and from that point he's keen to explore and have a good look around. So I'm going to see if he does feel like that today, and I'll switch the camera back on when he's a bit more active. Alright, so he's stretched out a little bit and shifted around. As you can see, he's not in a kind of stressed position. He hasn't got his head cocked back really far, so he's not looking to strike out or anything like that, but he is breathing a little more heavily than I would like. I think it's probably because I've got the camera up in his face. My camera has a microphone on the top of it, so that's probably quite intimidating for something so small. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you kind of how much he's grown, what he's looking like these days, and yeah, just to say he's doing really well in his new setup. He's definitely making the most of it. And yeah, if you've got any questions about any of the royals, royal pythons in general, or their enclosures, just drop them in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And if you did want to see more photos of these guys, I do have an Instagram channel. Just search Jensen's Reptiles, you'll find it. And yeah, you'll see photos of them pretty much every day. But yeah, drop me a follow and I will follow you back. So yeah, I hope you're all having a great day, and I will catch up with you soon.